checking YouTube. Okay, it is working. So, I guess I'll start. Now that everything's gotten messed up. So, welcome to the very first episode of Sleuth Wood. I wanted to say that Sleuth Wood, the title of Sleuth Wood, came from a William Butler Yeats poem called The Stolen Child, which is about a changeling. And I wanted to read just the first stanza where Sleuth Wood comes in. And in Irish, sleuth actually means sloping, so it kind of has a double meaning of like investigative, but also a sloping, misty kind of Irish lake. So the first stanza reads, "Where dips the rocky highland of Sleuth Wood in the lake, there lies a leafy island where flapping herons wake. The drowsy water rats, there we've hidden our fairy vats, full of berries, and of reddest stolen cherries. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand." And I started Sleuth Wood. It comes on the heels of my latest book, The Naturalist at Home. And that book I wrote to make nature study and an interest in nature more accessible to everyone, and kind of break down barriers that science techniques often have. And because of that, I wanted to introduce people to a variety of naturalists and other nature nerds who don't have a science background, who have a connection to nature but without the science background. And I'm very happy to introduce our first guest, Franz Anthony. Hello, Franz.
Thank you for having me.
And you are all the way over in Indonesia.
Yeah.
And I'm over here in Seattle, so we are far
Quite
away.
a big, yeah. We are always time zoned.
Yeah. And you are an artist. You do scientific illustration, and you're a graphic designer who happened to design the logo for Sleuth Wood. And also to everyone who's watching, feel free to join the chat, and I will be watching that if you want to join in. So, my first question for you is, how did you become an illustrator?
I think, well, this is kind of a hard question to answer because I've always been drawing since I was a kid. Like all of those artsy types out there, yeah, it's just our second nature. But a while ago, I realized that art is a kind of a hard career to pursue here. So I decided to pursue graphic design instead. But then I realized, yeah, this was around the time when people started making their careers on the internet. So I realized that graphic design is not the only thing that I could do here. Now that I'm connected with everyone else in the world, so I could just do whatever I want, which is like basically drawing, like I've always been doing since I was a kid, and just try to pursue my career elsewhere online. Yeah, that's basically it.
So you've been drawing since you were a kid. Have you also been interested in nature since you were a kid?
Yeah, I think I've always been into animals in one way or another. I think the fun thing that my mom always reminds me of is that one of my first drawings that she remembered was a fish, but it was from the front, not from the side. So everyone my age back then would just draw a fish from the side like this thing. But then my mom told me that I was drawing one from the front for whatever reason. So I think I've always liked to see animals in a different way.
And you also you've been rewilding your garden at your house. And tell us about that.
So I don't know if this is the norm there, because I know that you have HOA issues with American lawns, but here I think all over Asia people have issues with wanting everything to look neat and manicured and like basically pretty, but in an artificial way, I guess. But then a while ago, like maybe in 2018, the older people in my family was not really active anymore because they were getting older, like old people do. So I basically took charge of the garden, and then I just let everything grow. And then by doing that, I realized that there are a lot of plants that I didn't even know existed here, and the animals as well. And like in the past few years, leading to that, I learned about all the cool animals from the internet that exist all over Asia and elsewhere. That apparently actually also exist in my area and even in my backyard. So I think it all comes full circle because I grew up with things in my own area with my own wildlife, and then I uh, distance myself from like the local wildlife for reasons because I was so busy with studies and all that. But then I started learning everything from the internet, and then now I'm relearning everything that exists in my area just by existing, basically.
So have you noticed the difference of the wildlife that you had when you were growing up versus what you have now with the letting everything grow?
Yeah, but also I feel like if you have a wild backyard, especially in the tropics, I think everything just changes constantly. Like whenever I took a picture in April, I kind of do like every year. I do regular surveys at specific times of the year, and the animals that show up this year and next year could be completely different somehow.
Huh.
Yeah.
Maureen wants to know how many ant mimics you have in your yard.
Oh, a lot. I think we have at least 4 species.
So far.
Four species of spiders, and then there's one ant mimic mantis that everyone seems to love.
What's been the most surprising thing you found?
I think the one that I didn't expect at all was the death's head hawk moth.
Oh.
Do you know that one?
Yeah.
The moth with the skull on the back. Because I think everyone knew that moth from the poster, a poster of a movie. Is it Silence of the Lambs? I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's famous in pop culture, but I didn't even look it up. I didn't even know where it lived in general, like whether it's in Europe or in Asia or whatever. And then suddenly just showed up in my garden once. Oh wow! It was that unfortunately. Yeah.
So you were telling me earlier that your garden doesn't have like distinct seasons like we have in North America. That it's more subtle.
Yeah.
But now that you've been doing the rewilding and watching and documenting the invertebrates and stuff, have you noticed more of a pattern? A seasonal pattern?
A little bit, but also it's still kind of shifting because of climate change. So like what's happening this year is probably going to be not the same as what's going to happen next year. Like in 2008 we had like an 8-month drought and we didn't have any rain at all, and it was basically just bad for wildlife for a while because not many wild plants were growing and everything's going yellow. Yeah, but then in just the year after that it just rained like normal, and then yeah, it's just so unpredictable lately.
And you get a lot of rain.
I do, but it's still kind of seasonal. So it depends on. So we are in the tropics, and it depends on which direction the wind is blowing from. So half of the year the wind is going to blow from the south, where the shore is, and half of the year it's going to blow from the north. And north, we are closer to the southern shore than the north. Yeah, so we always have like the weather seasons, weather months, and then the drier months, but not really like super divided like that.
So speaking of the shore, I wanted to ask you, on Twitter you are synonymous with crabs.
Oh no.
So how did that come about? Why does everybody think about you when they think of crabs?
Yeah, I think it's mostly because I was friends with a biologist from Dutch, Werner. We were friends from Tumblr, and he's always been into crustaceans. So I kind of learned a lot of things from him, and then we just kind of memed a lot about crabs and all other crustaceans back then, a while ago. But it was back during Tumblr ages, and then suddenly the pandemic hit. Everyone's in lockdown, and I don't know what happened, but like 3 times during that same year, people suddenly found out that everything somehow keeps evolving into crabs. And at the same time, I was also drawing crabs for an episode of BBS Eons for their like educational video. So it just kind of blew up from there. So I've always liked crustaceans, but I don't think I'm like obsessed with crabs as anyone else thinks.
Well, Maureen wants to know what your favorite crab is anyway.
Oh, obviously Dorito crab. It's not really the official name, but there's a family of crabs. They're called elbow crabs technically because they have like really long elbows and they make like triangular shape like this. But then within that family, there are some species that actually have triangular carapace as well. So the body is triangular and then the arms are triangular. So they basically just look like Dorito chips. And Maureen and I just call them Dorito crabs.
Have you tried eating one yet?
They're tiny though. They're even smaller than Doritos, so I don't think they'll be tasty.
And you've done these illustration guides, starting with crab. I think you started with crabs, that show other artists how to illustrate crabs and a variety of other animals. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, basically it started when I was drawing crabs for the, like I told you, the BPS Eons video, and then I realized drawing crabs is actually trickier than I expected. So I consulted my actual crab expert. No, I'm not a crab expert. I'm just a crab, like, internet guy. But my actual crab expert is Jo Wolf from Harvard. She actually studies carcinization, which is like why everything keeps evolving into crab forms. Yeah, but yeah, we realized that it might be a good idea to teach other people how crabs work because with crabs, with crabs and a lot of other invertebrates, I think it's not really straightforward for us humans because we don't see them on like a daily basis. So a lot of people drawing them wouldn't even know where the legs connect to the body and like how much their band could join, how much their joint could bend, and what kind of claws they could have. Like some of them are like really long, and some of them are chunky. Yeah, so that's what we wanted to introduce.
Maureen's calling you a crab fanboy.
Maybe.
Just own it.
I guess.
And she wants to know what flavor of Dorito they are. The Dorito crabs.
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
You need to find out now.
Yeah.
So, speaking of crabs and other invertebrates, today is a special day, not just because of Sleuth Wood's debut, but also because a certain person's birthday. Should we tell her happy birthday?
Okay, happy birthday, Maureen. And happy International Invertebrate Day.
So let's talk about that. We decided, or you guys decided, that because today's Maureen's birthday, that it would also be Invertebrate Butt Day.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're synonymous with crabs, and Maureen's now synonymous with invertebrate butts.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I don't know. You might have to ask Maureen, but I think it's just random. Yeah. I think we just somehow talk a lot about invertebrate butts, and we just got calls from people from like Science Friday and whatever. I don't know who else contacted us back then. Yeah, it just got out of hand.
Out of hand? Is it out of hand though? I mean, it's good, right?
Out of butt.
Out of butt. So now everything's invertebrate butts. So if you have invertebrate butts, post them today for Maureen on social media. So you and I and Maureen have also done something else. We've started a thing called Invertifest. And do you want to tell us how that started too? It was when you and Maureen were together.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but basically Maureen was planning to go on a vacation in Bali when she wanted to accompany her friend Allison, who was planning to go to a conference in Bali. So Maureen was just gonna tag along basically, but then Allison canceled. So Maureen was gonna travel there alone. So I decided to show up, and then we somehow had a joint vacation where we look for bugs and slugs and other things for 2 whole weeks, and we basically tweeted the whole experience. and a lot of people, especially you, were super jealous about it. And then we decided, what if we just somehow look for bugs together, but not necessarily together in person? So that's why we maybe it would be worth chasing the idea of like doing a festival, online festival kind of thing, where we could just look for cool bugs together with a lot of other people online and then just shout about it, basically.
And that's been what, like 3 years now?
I think you said
4 years?
4 years.
4 years is a
I don't
4 years,
know.
yeah.
Well, yeah. I think the first one was
Four.
2019 before the pandemic, I
Okay,
believe.
yeah, yeah. So it's been
Wow.
4 years.
Oh wow.
So we run Invertifest 3 times a year. Three, right? Three.
So I think we've always done April, which coincides with Northern Hemisphere spring, and then December, the last week of December, for the people who wanted to an excuse to hang out with their family or without their family, basically depending on what you like, and then we try to slide in one more Inverterfest in between, just to spice things up. And I think last year we decided that it should just be in August every year, just to make it consistent and predictable for everyone.
So what do we do during Invertifest? What do people do?
Yeah, so the plan is just to look for bugs and a lot of invertebrates around us, basically just snails or worms or whatever. Because I think the beauty of Inverterfest is that an animal that is common in your backyard, maybe a common pest or a common butterfly, it's something that's completely new to other people online who is probably seeing it from another side of the planet, who have never visited you or would never ever visit you ever in their lifetime. So I think it's a nice experience because you get to basically micro travel through the internet. Yeah.
And so yeah, so it's a good way to get people to not just see what other people have in their backyards, but also just to encourage them to get out, because people don't always get out, especially in like December when it's cold and wet, and you never know what you're gonna find.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a negative feedback loop because people say that I'm not gonna find anything, so they don't find anything, so they kind of reinforce the idea that there's nothing in December, which is not true because, like in your book, you mentioned that there's a lot of things that you can do even in winter.
Yep.
And like how to find wildlife. Maybe you want to talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, like especially in the northern hemisphere, even in the winter, you can go pond dipping, which is an activity in my new book. Because I mean, like dragonflies don't just die; they live as larvae and immature forms under the water, just like like tons of insects do. And so they're not like they don't just die and then don't come back for a year. They're actually living their juvenile lives under the water even throughout the winter. So yeah, so it's easy to go pond dipping, or if you live by a beach, you can go of course I'm thinking about nudibranchs. You can go to the beach and look at low tides, because there's low tides during the spring or during the day, but at night, in the winter, they're at night, and you can see a whole new variety of invertebrates at the beach. Like when I go out during the winter, they have they can find squid, and they're like glowing in the dark and everything. So it's a whole different world during winter and then during night. So yeah, that's what I wrote about Nature Obscura, was like go out not just in the middle of summer. You have to go out during different times of the day and different times of the year, because you never know what you're going to find. It's always different. There's always something. You're never not going to find something, because insects are like everywhere. You're not ever going to find somewhere that there's not insects.
Yeah, I think the unpredictability of insects is just so fascinating, because you don't know what you're gonna find. It's a surprise every time.
Which is frustrating as a photographer, because it's like, I'm gonna go out looking for this butterfly, and you're never gonna find it. You're gonna find something else. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't have the right lens with you.
Never.
Yeah.
So Invertifest will go out and find invertebrates and post about them.
And also we try to keep it accessible to people who might not be able to go out. So we also encourage people to post invertebrates in other forms, that not necessarily things that they recently found in the wild, but also maybe maybe their poetry or their paintings, or maybe even their video games. Like maybe they're playing a game where their character is a crab with a sword or whatever. I think it's a good way to celebrate the uh, the kind of diversity of animals that we see not only in real life but also in popular media.
Right? Because a lot of
Yeah,
invertebrates inspire that, like Pokemon, right?
yeah, basically.
Because a lot of the Pokemon are based off real world invertebrates.
Yeah, it's. I think it's mostly because Pokemon is mostly based on the Japanese bug catching culture, bug catching, bug racing, and bug fighting. If you're aware of that, yeah.
It was big,
So a
yeah.
lot of the yes, a lot of their designs are, I would say, arguably more bug friendly than Western media because they kind of have their culture. Like everyone in Japan knows what an isopod is.
And they have like big giant stuffed isopods, and people like have them in their houses and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the
And I
beetles.
don't think, yeah, I don't think we'd find anything like that over here
No,
anytime soon.
no, no. It's yeah, and like even for nudibranchs, it's very people know what they are in Japan. They know what a nudibranch. But
Yeah,
here, it's like you say nudibranch, and people are like, "What's that?"
yeah. Oh, really? And I thought, and I thought a lot of people would know because you're kind of in the area for that.
No, every time I'm at the beach, people like they have no clue.
Oh, really?
There's either like the fanboys or fan women or whatever, like me and Maureen, and who totally geek out over nudibranchs, and then there's the people who just wander around looking at crabs or sea stars,
Oh.
and then I show them a nudibranch. They're like, "What? What is that thing? That's real?" So yeah, there's most of the people don't have a clue that nudibranchs even exist. So, at least here,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's all the sea stars. People love sea stars.
Yeah, I think that's. I think it's mostly because they're iconic in a way, and also slugs are not really. I mean, they're really tiny though, so you probably wouldn't even see them unless you're really paying attention.
Yeah, no, they're hard to find, especially the ones that live here are mostly small.
Uh-huh.
And but yeah, when you show somebody a picture of them, then their mind's like completely blown.
Yeah, because they're so colorful and they're exactly they don't make any sense.
And then like you tell people it's a slug, and they're like, "What? That's a slug?"
I think most people's idea of a slug is basically the brown garden slug.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Nudibranchs completely blow that out of the water.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun. I usually take my camera, and then like the little tiny ones that are hard to see, I like show people the camera. Like, this is what it looks like, and they're like, "That's what that thing is, really?"
Yeah, that's also the same with my bugs because I have macro lens. So whenever people in my family just wonder what are you looking at, and I show them what's in my camera, and then they just what?
Well, it's that perspective, and it's like unless you're really into invertebrates, you don't have that ability or that skill to look small.
I think it's mostly because invertebrates are not really within our scale. You know, as for example with mammals, because we are also mammals. That everything we are roughly the same size as other mammals, but with invertebrates, they just completely different from us, so they exist in a different scale.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't really see them in our daily basis unless we actually look for them.
Yep.
Unless and sometimes even when we look for them, we really need a special tool in one way or another. So I don't think they're really accessible to people.
Yep. Even though they're so abundant, they're so much more abundant than
Yeah,
mammals, and even birds. They're like so much easier to find
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
I think that's why when I do my talks for my books and stuff, I said my two favorite tools that I always carry. It's not binoculars, it's a hand lens and a flashlight.
Oh,
Because those are the
of
two
course.
things that are going to illuminate like slime molds or invertebrates. And you can see them like with a little hand lens that fits in your pocket. It just like it opens up this whole new world.
Yeah,
So those are my two favorite tools.
yeah, and also that reminds me that when I look for bugs, I usually try to look for what's in front of me, like within the range of my eye level. So when I'm done with that, when I'm satisfied with looking at all the trees in my backyard, I would just try to switch elsewhere,
Mm-hmm.
maybe on the ground or down in the leaf litter, and then it was just everything is just gonna be completely different. It's almost like you're living in like a different province or a different country, and just you're seeing a completely different wildlife.
Well, that's what my new book. So my new book has. Okay, I know I have an invertebrate bias, but like there's 20 projects and 3/4 of them are how to find invertebrates. And because it's like invertebrates are so abundant and they're everywhere. So like you said, they're like pitfall trap. That's how to find invertebrates in the leaf and the on the ground. And I also have the Burley Z funnel, which is how to find leaf litter invertebrates in leaf litter. And then yes, I mean my bias is showing, but they're all there's just so many ways. And then bush beating, so like you hold an umbrella or a like a blanket underneath a bush and then you hit it. But yeah, every time you do that, you're gonna find a whole different variety of invertebrates, and then like pond dipping, you get the aquatic invertebrates, and like every habitat is different.
Even if you're doing the same technique, like beating up branches, you might find that this branch and the branch next to it are gonna contain completely different animals somehow.
Yeah, and like even from one park to the next or one yard to the next, it's completely different. And
yeah, that's the thing with rewilding my backyard, is that I realized that when people talk about the tropics, people kind of assume that the tropics is a blanket term because everything is the same. But we have micro habitats everywhere. Like even in my own backyard, like the left side of my garden and the right side of my garden, like the plants that grow are completely different, and therefore the bugs are completely different as well. So if we're taking this knowledge into the wild, like maybe if you're going to a park or maybe like going hiking, what you're seeing maybe at the entrance and maybe like 10 meters down the line are gonna be completely different. Yeah. So you're kind of looking at the world in a different way, I guess.
Right. And it like teaches you how to really look at the world. Like once you get interested in invertebrates and learn how to really focus on them on a small scale, like the whole world like completely shifts. Like it completely opens up.
Which is why I think people should be aware when they're working with bug nerds that you're probably not gonna go anywhere. Like when I was in Bali with Maureen, there was like something that Google described as a short 15 minutes walk through rice terraces, and then we went there, and for us it was not like 15 minutes at all. It was like 4 hours. Because we would stop like we would take like 3 steps, 4 steps, and then we'd stop. What is that? Did you see that spider over there?
Yeah, and whenever I go for a hike, I never aim for the destination. Like the waterfall, I'll never get there.
Yeah.
Because I'll spend an hour like on a mile.
Yeah, exactly. Just forget it.
Don't hike with bug nerds.
Yeah.
No, do hike with bug nerds. We'll show you all the cool stuff.
Well, the good thing is that you're not gonna get tired because you're not walking much.
No, it's nice. It's a nice casual stroll, but it's good for mindfulness and mental health. So maybe not great for our physical health, but whatever. No, but doing bug photography is good because you get lots of squatting done.
Exactly, yeah. And also, especially if you're carrying heavy equipment, like the lens and then the flash. Photo equipments are not light.
No, I had to stop using my big macro lens because I started having wrist problems.
I see.
So now I have a little one, but it's fun because it's a little good it's a small like point and shoot camera, but it's really good for I can fit it in my pocket for one.
Right.
But it does good macro and it also shoots in RAW, so it has a lot of the same. Of course, I can't get close to things like butterflies because they're like don't get in my face.
Of course.
Somebody else made a point that it's the same with botanists who don't get far on walks.
Yeah, exactly.
And lichen people too. I mean, lichen people are like they just basically crawl along the ground.
See, this is why lichen people and bug people need to hang out.
Yeah, lichen people, bug people, botanists. Yeah, we're all kind of go for a walk.
Poetries, yeah.
But not bird people. They go too fast.
Yeah, and they kind of chase sounds,
Yeah, yeah.
which we don't do.
um, so now that we've talked about all the important, serious stuff, should we talk about Zelda?
Oh no! This is dangerous.
So, but this is nature related, right? So there's lots and lots of nature in Zelda.
It is.
And it ticks all the little boxes because, for one, there's like little ecosystems throughout Zelda that have different animals.
Yeah.
And there's the compendium, so you can like check off all the bugs and the birds that you find and stuff. So it's totally related.
Yeah. And also, as a nature photographer, you can just get obsessed about getting a good angle of that one dragonfly. Oh wow!
During the right time of the day. And
Yeah, exactly.
With the sunset in the background.
Yeah, exactly. I've been chasing pictures of like bugs and birds during sunset because I usually like to shift my time. You know, you can you can sleep by the campfire and wait until morning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I do that, and then I just wait until the bird is like within the right angle of the sun.
just to get a photo.
Yeah, just to get a good photo. Yeah.
So have you gotten photos while has your compendium been done?
I think I'm only missing Koroks now.
Wait, are you gonna tell us how many hours you played now?
I checked earlier, and it said 225. Here's the thing, though. My brother works 9 to 5, and he's got 250 hours. So he's like 25 hours ahead of me, and he works full time. I don't. I'm a freelancer.
How does he even do that?
I have no idea.
Is he not sleeping?
Maybe. I have no idea. Yeah, I think there's a lot of nature to explore in the game because you also get the beautiful sceneries and the lighting, especially, is gorgeous. I really like the way they do the sunset and sunrise. Yeah.
And now that has, I don't think this is a spoiler, but now that we have not just the mainland, but the Sky Islands and then the underground too, and they've introduced a whole new like set of landscapes. So the Sky Islands are more like autumn with the pretty leaves and everything, and then the underground, I'm which is funny because I wouldn't set foot in a cave if you paid me.
Same, yeah.
But I've spent like 90% of my time exploring the underground.
It's so beautiful.
It is, and like all the giant type mushroom things, and a lot of the cave botany looks like lichens and mosses and stuff, but it's kind of like oversized.
Yeah.
So it's really pretty, I think, and
I think they did a good job at showing having like an otherworldly realm under the ground while keeping it still kind of grounded, I guess. So it's not like it's kind of alienish, but not like a different planet alienish.
right,
If you know what I mean.
right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a fantasy-ish.
Fantasy, yeah.
But
Like
based off
dark
real.
fantasy.
Yeah. No, I think it's.
I think this is why I believe that art people need to look into nature for inspiration, because there's a lot of things that you can look at, and maybe if you like as you said, if you blow up a really tiny plant and make it really big in a game, it's gonna make the game feel completely different.
Right.
Yeah, that's why it's really important for people to just look at as many things as possible.
Right, it's good inspiration, and like I'm thinking about Nausicaa at the Valley of the Wind in the manga.
Yeah.
The Sea of Decay, and it's like these giant kind of. To me, they look a lot like slime molds, like really massive sized slime molds. And so it's very clear that Miyazaki was very connected to nature and had really, you can tell when like an artist or a game designer or whoever has actually been out and experienced nature instead of just like coming up with random stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see that their design is a little bit more grounded somehow, and more realistic. I'm not really saying that realism is the only way to go, but I feel like something that is grounded in realism usually it's more solid because it's not like completely like wild and just everything's gonna fall apart if you add one different thing and everything's gonna look weird.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. It feels more believable.
more cohesive, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there other games that have a great nature setting, do you think?
I've been enjoying No Man's Sky. It's actually a space game.
Yeah.
Technically, you explore space and everything is kind of procedurally generated. So they kind of have a template of what the plants, a different type of plants that could show up, but the details are going to be different. So it's a different approach, I guess. They're not like designed one by one, but more like a mix and match. So it's more like the children's book where you mix and match the head of an animal and then you
Uh-huh.
flip the book and you see the body of a different animal. Yeah, it's more like that. It's a completely different approach, but I also like it. It's just less realistic, but it's also a nice approach, I guess.
Different. Yeah, but it's good to have variety of different.
Exactly.
I'm grabbing my Nintendo because there was a game I wanted to mention, but I can't remember the name of it. It's have you played In Other Waters?
I've seen it, but I haven't tried it.
It's like it's not a very graphic game. It doesn't actually have pictures of the organisms, but you just kind of go in your submarine and explore different places, and you collect samples, like scientific samples. But it's got this really complex descriptions of them. So you take them, you analyze them, and then it tells you. It's like this whole creative system of like all these made up. There's like it sounds like invertebrates and kind of plants. I guess they're kind of plantish type organisms, but they have like really complex, detailed descriptions. So it's really like a really well thought out game. And
Is it the core of the game? Like,
mm-hmm.
what is the objective? Is the objective like basically
You're,
the collecting sample thing?
yeah,
Or?
you're like supposed. I think there's like an ongoing mystery, but I kind of forgot what. I forgot what the actual goal is, and I just like have been going around collecting all these different organisms and.
Like we always do.
Well, that's what I usually do in Zelda, but then now that you've kind of inspired me to like actually go beat the bosses, which we won't talk about because that's a spoiler. But
Yeah.
otherwise,
I really wish we could talk about the bosses, but
but they're really cool.
Yeah.
They're really cool.
Yeah, to whoever is listening to this right now, if you haven't beaten the bosses, just go do it. They're just so much better than Breath of the Wild's bosses.
See, like in Breath of the Wild, I didn't even touch the bosses for like a year. Like I don't need to worry about that. I wanted to go find all the beetles and all the explore like every bit of the map. But this time, because of you, this time I went and beat all the bosses right away.
Yeah.
And it was definitely worth it because they're so cool.
Yeah, I think people could kind of guess why we're excited because we're kind of predictable, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's so much to explore in the game. Other than that, including.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but. There's a lot
and
of
also, Animal Crossing. We were both obsessed with Animal Crossing a while ago.
I played daily for like 2 straight years.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So my museum was complete. Yeah, and then now I'm working. Well, I haven't played in a while because of Zelda, but working on getting all the insect models.
Yeah, I wish we could actually do that in real life.
Yeah.
We just get free animal models often because they're so well done. Imagine if you could just decorate your entire room with all sorts of animal models. Yeah,
I'd have to get a bigger house.
Be amazing. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I started doing models of nudibranchs out of clay. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. They're kind of stuck in there, so I can't really show you. But no, it's fun. I've never worked with clay before ever. But I'm making a set like these little mobile curiosity cabinets to take when I do book events.
I see.
And I'm like, I can't. Nudibranchs, for one, I'm not gonna kill one. And for two, they don't preserve well anyway because once you put them in alcohol, they lose all their coloring and everything. So I thought, well, how can I represent that? And then I thought in like the old-fashioned curiosity cabinets, like in the 1700s, when they couldn't
Yeah.
find a specimen or whatever they wanted, they would either have a picture made or they'd make a model of it. So I thought, well, that's cool. I could just make a model of the nudibranchs and then put them in my curiosity cabinet. So it was actually pretty fun to work in a 3-dimensional form because I usually paint, so I'm not used to
Yeah.
working 3-dimensionally. But
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm a painter. I'm supposed to be able to create images out of thin air, just to create my own cabinet of curiosity, right? Technically, but what I end up doing is just chasing bugs in Zelda instead.
so
Priorities.
when you do your art, do you have to reference lots of images?
I do because I think late when I was younger, I was a little bit more carefree with my art because it was mostly just for fun. But
Mm.
lately, I'm working a lot with scientists, and that I just need to be a little bit more careful, and I want to make sure that everything is accurate in a way or another. I mean, it's not like we need to like draw every feather of a bird or something like that, but we try not to misrepresent the animal, which is not always easy because with invertebrates and other obscure animals, you don't always. It's not always easy to find a good reference for them. Sometimes you need to dig through a 100-year-old academic paper just to figure out how a jellyfish's tentacle attached to the body. Just in a way, I think it kind of sucks the joy out of art for me in a bit, but also it's a fun challenge. It's for me, it turns art into something else. It's more less of an self-expression and more like puzzle problem solving in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I need to figure out how this thing attach to this other thing, and maybe I need to grab a reference from another source and how to add that into this thing that I already have. Yeah,
It's like an
it's a
impossible puzzle.
completely
Yeah. I
yeah
wanted to show
yeah. It's
one of your artworks from
oh
this book
that's
that I'm
Dana's
reading.
book. Yeah.
I've been reading this. It's a really good book, and I found your artwork in it. Like I know that guy.
Oh, it's funny though because that book, the first version of that book was the thing that inspired me to really look into cephalopods. And then she somehow found my art, which was inspired by her book. And then she reprinted her book, and then it decided to include my art. So yeah,
We went full circle.
sweet. Yeah, that's sweet.
Maureen wants to know what the hardest animal is to draw.
Crabs. I think they're all like hard in a different way, but I think arthropods are hard literally because they're rigid. While if you're drawing things like slugs or jellyfish, they're squishy, so
Mhm.
nobody's gonna complain if your jellyfish's bell is kind of like kind of wonky in a way or another. But with bugs or crabs, they're just you just need to be a little bit more careful. Yeah,
That's
and
fascinating.
also since they have so many legs, I find it harder for me these days to draw things that are like repetitive. Yeah, I just want to draw one leg and that's it. I don't want to do this like 9 more times.
Do you ever like panic and count the legs to make sure you got them all?
Not really because I usually get that thing done like very early in the process.
So you don't want to draw any centipedes.
Uh Maybe someone pays me for it.
So you draw mostly invertebrates, right?
Yeah,
Do you find mammals harder or easier to draw?
I don't find them harder per se, but more like there are a lot of people doing that already. So
Mhm.
I just let the experts do their thing, and I think it's gonna be more fun for me to do things that other people are not doing mostly because uh, one, people are actually needing this kind of service, and then two, uh, it's kind of a specialized knowledge that you don't really learn within a day. So I think focusing on invertebrates, which is pretty wide on its own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Invertebrates is basically anything that is not vertebrate, which is like 98% of animal life or
Right,
something like
right.
that. Yeah, yeah. I think focusing on invertebrates is uh, really helping me a lot with like finding clients and all that because they know that like I have the eyes and I have the ability to read invertebrate technical papers.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah,
that's a skill.
yeah. Oh, you don't know how hard it is. Like when I read, I can kind of comprehend crab papers most of the time, but when I look at something related, like for example streams, I would just, what the heck are you talking about? Like they're similar, but they're somehow completely different. And sometimes I wonder, like when people are describing animal body parts in paper, if I, someone who can read crabs but not shrimps, get confused, and they're both written around the same time today, how can we be sure that like people 200 years from now are still going to be able to comprehend what's being written today?
Right, right.
Like, I just, I just have no idea how it's going to work out because language changes over time and
it
all that.
it does, yeah,
Yeah,
and most papers are written in English, right?
in English, yeah.
Which is a challenge in itself if you're not a native
And also,
illustrator.
yeah, sometimes even people who work from North America and the British, for example, they use completely different terms for the same body parts. Yeah.
I hear that your fossil fish drawings are also very good.
Oh, oh. Well, that was like several years ago. Oh,
What do you?
I
Go ahead.
yeah, I think fish. Um, uh, I mean, I'm basically known as an invertebrate guy on the internet, but I don't really hate vertebrates. But I'm mostly just avoiding things that people do,
Uh-huh.
like just to avoid the competition, I guess. And I feel like people don't really do fish that much compared to like maybe
Mm.
mammals or dinosaurs,
Well,
the
there's
superstars.
there's
Yeah,
always the bias, the mammal bias.
yeah. So I guess in a way, fish are kind of honorary invertebrates.
Well, mammals, put the mammals at the bottom, birds down there, fish down there, and invertebrates at the top.
Basically.
I'm not biased at all.
Just as disclaimer, someone paid me to do a book containing like 80 something mammals. So,
So you're not going to openly
I,
bash
I
mammals.
I don't hate mammals. I don't hate mammals. Just in case someone else wants to hire me for like 80 more mammals.
I know the truth.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to draw?
Actually, I really like marine stuffs, mostly because they're so different from what we are seeing on a daily basis. But also, I've been enjoying jellies lately.
Hmm?
Not, it wasn't my choice actually, but people's. So in the past like 6 years, I've been drawing plates, like posters containing several animals within a group, like maybe a plate of 12 spiders, like a plate of 14 nudibranchs and all that. So people have been asking me to do jellyfishes for a while. Yeah, so I'm basically learning how to jelly these days.
Well, you didn't like
But
legs, but now you got to draw lots of tentacles.
yeah, they're kind of painful, but also not really because they're really repetitive, which is not really compatible with my brain somehow. But also, you can kind of uh, you can kind of be a little bit more carefree about them because they're squishy and they
Uh,
just bend all over the place. Yeah,
that's why I like drawing nudibranchs, because they're all squishy. It doesn't matter if the line's straight or whatever.
yeah, basically, yeah. Nobody's gonna yell at you if the head's a little bit smaller.
All right, we're almost at an hour. Do you want to say anything else? Talk about anything else?
I think we did a lot of things already.
You've used up all your FaceTime for the year now.
Uh huh. Maybe. Yeah, I think we covered everything like Inverterfest, Zelda, Animal Crossing,
Invertebrate butt day.
Invertebrate Birthday. Yeah. So yeah, just don't forget to check out in. I think the hashtag is International Invertebrate Day. I believe it's just so unnecessarily long, but whatever.
Just post invertebrate butts.
Yeah.
And remember the next Invertifest is August, right?
August. Yeah.
August,
That's the plan anyway.
the last week of August.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to simplify things, so it should be easier to remember. So the last week of April, August, and December, and yeah,
Okay.
and it's gonna last like the whole week.
The whole week. Got it.
Yeah,
So you can post and with the hashtag Invertifest.
Invertifest, yeah.
With the E.
Yeah, people keep using the wrong one.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being my first guest. And
hey,
thank
Maureen, you for having me.
Tell Maureen happy birthday again. Happy birthday, Maureen.
Happy birthday, Maureen. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, friends.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.